Have you ever stopped to think about what it actually takes to plan a wedding when you're arguably the most famous woman in the world? Not just famous. The kind of famous where millions of people track your private jet, thousands camp outside your concerts hoping to catch a glimpse of you, and one blurry photo can dominate social media for an entire week. Now imagine trying to keep your wedding a secret. No leaks, no paparazzi photos, no cell phone videos, no uninvited guests, no live streams. For most celebrities, that's almost impossible. For Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, they somehow pulled it off. Yet somehow, despite all that secrecy, the wedding still became one of the biggest entertainment stories of the year. Not because of where it happened, not because of what Taylor wore, and not even because she married one of the NFL's biggest stars. It became global news because of what it represented. This wasn't simply the union of a pop star and a football player. It was music, sports, Hollywood, fashion, television, business, and social media, all colliding into one event. When you looked at the guest list, you quickly realized this wasn't a room full of musicians or athletes. It was a room filled with some of the most influential people in entertainment, sports, film, television, fashion, and business, reflecting just how far Taylor Swift's and Travis Kelce's influence extends beyond their own industries. Reports described approximately 1,000 guests attending the Madison Square Garden celebration, with Adam Sandler officiating, Austin Swift serving as Taylor's man of honor, and Jason Kelce standing as Travis's best man. Some people called it America's royal wedding. Others called it the celebrity event of the decade. And honestly, after looking at everything that went into this wedding, it's hard to argue with either description. So today, we're taking a deep dive into how two people from completely different worlds managed to create one of the most talked about weddings in modern celebrity history, and why this wedding may have changed celebrity culture forever. Welcome to Hollywood Zoomed In. Drop a like on the video. To understand why this wedding captivated millions of people around the world, we have to go back to where it all began. Ironically, one of the biggest celebrity love stories in recent memory didn't begin at an awards show. It didn't begin at a charity gala, and it certainly didn't begin because two publicists arranged for two famous people to meet. It started with something incredibly simple: a friendship bracelet. In the summer of 2023, Taylor Swift was in the middle of what would become one of the highest-grossing concert tours in history, the Eras Tour. Cities transformed into festivals every time she arrived, hotels sold out, restaurants filled with fans. Local businesses reported record sales. Economists even coined the term Swiftonomics to describe the economic impact surrounding the tour. Meanwhile, Travis Kelce was already one of the NFL's biggest stars. A multiple-time Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs, a charismatic personality, a future Hall of Famer. But despite all of his success, he suddenly found himself doing something millions of Swifties had already done: making a friendship bracelet. His bracelet, however, had one small difference. Instead of a lyric or song title, it included his phone number. His plan was simple. After the concert, he hoped to hand it to Taylor. Unfortunately, that opportunity never came. Taylor has since explained that after performing for more than 3 hours, she generally doesn't meet people backstage because she's focused on recovering physically and protecting her voice. So Travis left without ever giving her the bracelet. For most people, that would have been the end of the story. Instead, it became the beginning. A few days later, Travis shared the story on his podcast, New Heights, with his brother Jason. He joked about being disappointed. He laughed at himself. He admitted he'd hoped for the chance to meet her. It was funny, it was genuine, and perhaps most importantly, it didn't feel rehearsed. That authenticity resonated with people. The clip spread rapidly online. Entertainment outlets picked it up. Sports shows talked about it. Swifties flooded social media. Suddenly, two completely different worlds had collided. At the time, nobody knew if Taylor had even heard the story, but eventually, she did. Relationships between celebrities aren't unusual. Actors date actors, musicians date musicians, athletes date athletes. The headlines last a few days, and then the public moves on. Taylor and Travis were different. Because this wasn't just two celebrities dating, it was two enormous fan communities suddenly discovering each other. Taylor Swift wasn't simply one of the world's biggest singers. She had become a cultural force. Her albums broke streaming records. Her tours generated billions of dollars. Every outfit she wore sold out. Every restaurant she visited became a tourist attraction. Every appearance created headlines. Travis Kelce represented something completely different. Professional football, competition, championships. One of America's most watched sports leagues. When the relationship became public, neither audience knew what to expect. Would football fans embrace Taylor? Would Swifties care about the NFL? The answer surprised almost everyone. They embraced both. Television ratings reflected increased interest from new audiences. Travis's jersey sales surged. Social media exploded after every Chiefs game Taylor attended. Sports broadcasters found themselves discussing Taylor Swift. Entertainment reporters suddenly needed to learn football terminology. The relationship had become much bigger than romance. It had become business. The NFL quickly realized that every time Taylor appeared inside a stadium suite, millions of additional viewers were paying attention. Some longtime fans loved the crossover. Others argued television cameras showed her too often. But regardless of which side people were on, everyone was talking. And attention is one of the most valuable commodities in modern entertainment. Whether you loved it or hated it, Taylor and Travis had become impossible to ignore. As months passed, something interesting happened. Instead of fading away like so many celebrity romances, their relationship became stronger. Taylor attended games whenever her touring schedule allowed. Travis supported Taylor at Eras Tour concerts around the world. Fans noticed the effort. Neither appeared interested in creating manufactured publicity. Instead, they seemed determined to support one another, despite demanding careers that constantly pulled them in different directions. That authenticity became one of the defining characteristics of their relationship. People weren't just watching glamorous red carpet appearances. They were watching two extremely successful people trying to make an extraordinarily complicated relationship work. And perhaps that's why audiences became so invested. The relationship felt surprisingly relatable beneath all the fame. Long-distance travel, busy schedules, career commitments, making time for family, supporting each other's biggest moments. Those are challenges millions of ordinary couples understand. Taylor and Travis simply happened to experience them under the brightest spotlight imaginable. Then came the question everyone was asking: when would they get engaged? For months, speculation dominated entertainment media. Every vacation sparked rumors. Every family gathering created headlines. Every jewelry sighting became front-page news. Neither of them seemed interested in feeding the speculation. Instead, they continued living remarkably private lives considering their level of fame, which only increased public curiosity. Eventually, the proposal came. Not with a carefully staged media event, not with exclusive magazine coverage, but as another deeply personal milestone shared on their own terms. And almost immediately, attention shifted from one question, will they get engaged, to another, what will their wedding possibly look like? Because if dating had captivated the world, the wedding promised to become something even bigger, and few people could have predicted just how extraordinary it would become. The moment Taylor and Travis got engaged, the internet immediately moved on to its next obsession. Not if they were getting married, but how? Would they elope? Would they get married overseas? Would they rent out an island? Would they choose a castle in Europe? Or would Taylor, one of the most recognizable women on the planet, somehow manage to pull off the impossible: a private wedding? The challenge wasn't finding the perfect venue, it was protecting it. Think about it. Taylor Swift can't simply walk into a restaurant unnoticed. Fans track her private jet. Photographers monitor hotels. Entertainment reporters dissect every social media post looking for clues. Even florists and caterers have accidentally exposed celebrity weddings in the past. So, If Taylor wanted one thing above everything else, it was control. Control over the guest list, control over the schedule, control over who saw what, and when. Because once that information reached the internet, there was no taking it back. Why Madison Square Garden? When people imagine celebrity weddings, they picture beaches in Italy, French vineyards, private estates, luxury resorts. Madison Square Garden probably isn't the first place that comes to mind, but that's exactly what made it brilliant. MSG wasn't chosen because it looked romantic. It was chosen because it solved problems almost no other venue in America could solve. Think about what the Garden already has: dedicated security entrances, underground access, loading docks, private elevators, restricted floors, professional security teams used to handling world-famous performers, championship athletes, and heads of state. Most wedding venues have to build security. Madison Square Garden already lives security every single day. Reports say guests were directed through carefully controlled entry points with digital invitations, QR code access, and strict confidentiality measures designed to keep the celebration private. Phones were reportedly restricted inside the event, allowing guests to actually enjoy the evening instead of worrying about the next viral photo. That's almost unheard of in today's celebrity culture, because let's be honest, if nearly 1,000 celebrities attended almost any other wedding, hundreds of photos would have appeared online before the ceremony even ended. Instead, for hours, the world knew almost nothing, and that mystery only made people more interested. Here's something many people overlooked. Taylor and Travis weren't just planning a wedding, they were managing one of the biggest media events of the year, and the less people knew, the more everyone wanted to know. Luxury brands have understood this concept for decades. Scarcity creates value. Exclusivity creates demand. The harder something is to access, the more desirable it becomes. Without saying a single word, Taylor and Travis had turned their wedding into the most exclusive invitation in entertainment. If you were invited, you were part of one of the smallest circles in celebrity culture. And if you weren't, you were left wondering who was. That curiosity drove non-stop television coverage, live streams outside Madison Square Garden, and constant online speculation as journalists and fans tried to piece together what was happening behind closed doors. But eventually, the doors opened. Black SUVs began arriving, camera flashes lit up Manhattan, and suddenly, the biggest question wasn't where the wedding was. It was, who actually made the guest list? Because this wasn't just another room full of celebrities. This guest list told a story about influence, about loyalty, about relationships built over decades, and perhaps most importantly, about how one woman managed to bring together some of the most powerful people from completely different industries under one roof. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the guest list wasn't who attended. It was who represented each chapter of Taylor and Travis's lives. Every table inside Madison Square Garden told a different story. One represented Taylor's rise through country music. Another reflected the friendships she built after crossing over into pop. Another was filled with people connected to film and television. Then there were the athletes, current NFL stars, former teammates, Hall of Famers, broadcasters, coaches, people who had watched Travis grow from a talented young tight end into one of the greatest players of his generation. When you stepped back and looked at the room as a whole, something remarkable became clear. This wasn't a gathering of celebrities, it was a gathering of influence. Some of the most recognizable faces in America, people who shape music, movies, television, sports, fashion, comedy, and business, were all under one roof because of two people. That doesn't happen often, and it certainly doesn't happen by accident. Over the years, Taylor Swift has built a reputation for maintaining long-term friendships in an industry known for temporary relationships. From touring partners to producers, from childhood friends to collaborators, many of the people in that room had been part of her journey long before stadium tours and record-breaking albums. The same could be said for Travis. His football career wasn't built alone. Behind every championship run were teammates, coaches, trainers, family members, and lifelong friends who helped shape the player and the man he became. That's what made this guest list feel different. It wasn't simply about status. It was about history. Every invitation represented a relationship. Every seat represented a memory. And perhaps that's why the wedding resonated with so many people. For all the glamour surrounding the event, there was something surprisingly human about it. Because beneath the designer suits, the custom gowns, the security, the cameras, and the headlines, it was still a celebration surrounded by the people who mattered most. Long before Taylor arrived, fashion experts were already making predictions. Would she wear a traditional white gown? Would she surprise everyone with something modern? Would she choose one designer? Or several? When you're Taylor Swift, what you wear is never just clothing. It's communication. Fans have spent years analyzing her outfits for hidden meanings, color choices, references to song lyrics, and subtle nods to different eras of her career. So, naturally, expectations surrounding her wedding dress were unlike almost anything seen in recent memory. Luxury fashion houses reportedly competed for the opportunity to dress the couple, knowing that a single appearance could generate millions of dollars worth of global exposure. That's the Taylor Swift effect. One photograph, one dress, one appearance, and suddenly millions of people around the world are searching for the designer behind it. Fashion analysts often describe this as the halo effect. When someone with extraordinary influence wears a brand, that attention extends far beyond the clothing itself. Sales increase, search traffic spikes, social media conversations explode. Even people who never intended to buy luxury fashion suddenly know the designer's name. In many ways, Taylor's wedding wasn't just one of the year's biggest entertainment stories, it was one of its biggest fashion moments. But unlike award shows, where every outfit is photographed from every angle within seconds, this wedding remained remarkably controlled. Very little was released immediately, and that restraint only increased public fascination. It reminded people of an era before social media, when not every private moment became public property. Ironically, by showing less, Taylor and Travis made people care even more. Here's where the story becomes bigger than romance, much bigger, because whether they intended it or not, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce had become one of the most valuable celebrity partnerships in the world. Think about everything connected to them: music, streaming, concerts, the NFL, television, advertising, fashion, social media, merchandise, brand endorsements. Every public appearance generated headlines, every photograph generated engagement. Every headline generated revenue for someone. Television networks benefited, news organizations benefited, fashion brands benefited, sports leagues benefited, hotels, restaurants, airlines, advertisers, streaming platforms, and countless businesses all found ways to connect themselves to the couple's extraordinary popularity. Few celebrity relationships have ever crossed so many industries at once. Usually, influence stays within one lane. Actors dominate Hollywood, athletes dominate sports, musicians dominate entertainment. Taylor and Travis blurred those lines. They became part of one enormous cultural conversation, and that may be the biggest reason their wedding felt different. It wasn't just celebrity news, it was a reflection of how celebrity itself has changed. Today's biggest stars aren't confined to one industry anymore. They're brands. Their businesses, their media companies, their global cultural forces. Taylor Swift didn't stop being a singer when she married Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce didn't stop being a football player. Together, they became something even larger. A partnership capable of influencing conversations far beyond music or football. That's incredibly rare. And it's one of the reasons millions of people who had never attended an Eras tour or watched an NFL game still found themselves paying attention to this wedding. Perhaps the biggest lesson from Taylor and Travis's wedding isn't about fashion, or football, or even celebrity. It's about privacy. For years, many people believed true privacy no longer existed for global superstars. Phones were everywhere. Social media rewarded leaks. Exclusive photos could sell for enormous amounts of money. Yet somehow, Taylor and Travis reminded everyone that privacy is still possible. Not perfect privacy, but intentional privacy. Instead of inviting the entire world into every moment, they chose exactly what they wanted people to see, and perhaps more importantly, what they didn't. That decision felt refreshing. In an era where many celebrity moments are designed for immediate online consumption, this wedding felt surprisingly personal. It reminded people that not every meaningful moment has to become content, not every memory has to become a post, not every celebration needs a live stream. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is choosing to keep something for yourself. That may end up being the real legacy of this wedding, not the dress, not the venue, not even the guest list, but the reminder that some moments are worth protecting. Long after the headlines fade, long after the photos stop trending, and long after another celebrity wedding captures public attention, people will probably remember Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding for one simple reason. It represented a moment in time, a moment when music, sports, fashion, Hollywood, business, and popular culture all seemed to converge around one couple. Whether you viewed it as the wedding of the decade, America's closest thing to a royal wedding, or simply two people celebrating with the people they love, there's no denying its impact. Because this story was never just about Taylor Swift, and it was never just about Travis Kelce. It was about what happens when two of the world's most recognizable public figures build a relationship that transcends their individual careers and becomes part of a much bigger cultural conversation. Years from now, people probably won't remember every headline. They won't remember every rumor or every viral social media post. But they'll remember that, for a brief moment, it felt like the entire world stopped to watch two people say, "I do." And maybe that's the clearest sign of all that this wasn't just another celebrity wedding. It was a cultural event, one that reflected not only where celebrity culture is today, but where it's headed tomorrow. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more stories that go beyond the headlines, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Hollywood Zoomed In, and let me know in the comments, which celebrity event do you think changed pop culture the most? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next deep dive.